Prey, the fifth film in the Predator franchise, just dropped on Hulu today from director Dan Trachtenberg. Let's talk a little bit about it.
What's your favorite scary movie? Amen.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing now.
Oh, blood on the beast!
God, don't do that.
But sometimes death is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? Killjoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we are talking a little bit about Prey, the fifth film in the Predator franchise, which I am very excited to talk about. But before we do that, if you guys can like this video, subscribe, do all that crap, you know what to do. I'd appreciate it. Now, just so you all know, I'm going to do a little non-spoiler review right at the beginning here, and right before we get into the spoilers, I will give you a massive warning. Not trying to spoil nobody on this page, that's not the point. I'm not an actual Killjoy, I promise. So talking about this film from a non-spoilery perspective, I absolutely loved the movie. I think if you're a fan of this franchise and you just really want to see some Predator actions and someone badass going up against the Predator, this is the movie for you. It is absolutely phenomenal all the way through the film. I think it is just so much fun and so bloody, so gory, and also just has some really cool action sequences all the way throughout. I don't know what else Amber Midthunder has done, but she's amazing. I mean, she is like really just a well-seasoned actress, and she kills it in this movie. She's super badass, super professional, and it's awesome to see throughout the whole flick. The Predator has a bit of a different design in this flick, but it is still very cool, and something that just, well, it captures all the essence of what the Predator is, even though, yes, the design is a little different, but it definitely works with this movie. I'll explain that in this more spoilery part of this video. Besides a few gripes I have with the dialogue, I absolutely loved everything about this film. It's really shaping up to be one of the better films this year, and my God, has Hulu just delivered with horror this year. There's been a few Hulu originals that I've just been really impressed with, including Fresh, this movie, I believe No Exit was also a Hulu original. There's been just a lot of really fun stuff coming from this platform this year, and it's pretty surprising considering the fact that it's not exactly a streaming service known for its originals. I mean, yeah, The Handmaid's Tale was pretty awesome, I guess. I never watched it. Solar Opposites, I think, is hella underrated. One of the best animated TV shows, I think, on right now. It's pretty good if you haven't seen that. I do updates on it on my second page, which you can check out over here. But Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Eisen both deliver with this film from a writing and directing standpoint. It is truly phenomenal, and I think easily the best Predator sequel. Now, getting into some spoilers, so just so you know, there are spoilers ahead. I'm gonna say it one more time because some people will just keep watching the video without actually watching the movie. Guys, go watch this thing. Don't get it spoiled, seriously. Listen to this crazy guy screaming at you on the internet right now. Go watch the movie. Go watch it, then come back. We'll talk spoilers. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Spoilers ahead. Your last warning. You have been warned. This movie starts off in a very wonderfully silent way, which I think is great. It tells a lot of story without any dialogue, which this movie does a lot throughout its runtime. You're introduced to the Predator and Naru about at the same time, and you kind of see them progress as characters in very similar ways, which I think is a really nice little parallel. Like, you have the Predator learning much more about the creatures on Earth and like figuring out, oh, hey, bears are big and scary. I probably should really try to fight this thing a little better. And then you're also watching Amber's character learn about like the land and like certain medicines and all that. It seems like people that are a part of her tribe really want her to be much more, not a hunter and much more of a gatherer and someone who's gonna do the medicinal stuff and stay behind and all that. But no way, Jose. Amber is going in there and she's gonna be the badass that she is. It's awesome. It's great. I love it. But they use this really nice trick with like this like orange like flower thing that they find. The name of it is completely slipping my mind now. I watched this movie at 3 a.m. Give me a break. And when she eats it, it turns her blood freezing cold so the Predator can't see her, which is a really nice way to do the whole like in the mud thing that they did in the original Predator, but they're doing it differently here, which I appreciated. We still get the character of Naru covered in mud at one point in this film, so hey, there is that. I appreciated that this film did a lot of things that the original Predator did, but it kind of found a new way to do it. It really reinvented some of the tropes from this franchise, and I can just really appreciate that. None of the other sequels do that very well besides Predators, the third movie in this franchise, which I actually think is hella underrated and also a great sequel. But this movie does everything better, I think. Speaking of telling a lot of story without a whole lot of dialogue, there's this scene right at the very beginning where you see like this ant crawl up on the Predator's foot while he's invisible. It's a really cool shot to begin with. And you see him kind of crawling, and suddenly this mouse comes out of nowhere, grabs the ant and eats it, just like starts shoving it in its face. And then in the background, you can see a snake. It's like a rattlesnake going, and it gets the mouse and eats hates it. You're just like, where is this going? Holy crap. And then suddenly the Predator, who has been there the entire time invisible, grabs the snake and skins it alive. It is a super brutal scene that, once again, no dialogue, but tells you, hey, this motherfucker's scary. That is just such an amazing visual, such a great shot, which, yes, is done with a lot of digital effects, but I don't care. This is awesome. I was enjoying it. This immediately pulled me in. Even though the majority of this movie does rely on digital effects, it is still very impressive and done really well. I've said this before in the past, if you're gonna do digital effects, make them look good. Don't make them look like shit, or else it's just gonna ruin the movie. You might as well not even do it. And I appreciate that this film had that attention to detail, something that maybe Marvel Studios needs to start taking notes on, because wow, those past couple of movies have looked awful. I think this movie has the best kills in the entire franchise, bar none. I mean, seriously, that's one of the only things I feel that this movie has over the original, truly, is that the kills are just so much better. They're insane. I mean, they had me like screaming in my bed this morning watching this thing. It was awesome. And yes, I do realize how gross that sounds to say I was screaming in my bed this morning alone at 4 in the morning when I watched this thing. But hey, you know what? Don't worry about any of that. Let's just keep moving on with the review. Another note I have is too many goddamn good boys die in this movie right from the get-go. Like, first 15 minutes, 2 dogs are dead. What the fuck, movie? Sorry, fam, but doggy deaths are always gonna be a negative in my book. There's a kill that's very reminiscent of Vanessa's kill from Halloween Kills, which I think is just really interesting and cool that they added this in there. It's also very darkly funny, which was a nice little flavor to throw into a Predator film. There's this whole side plot about like these Frenchmen, which is a really cool little addition to the movie, and it definitely is there to keep the runtime a little longer, of course, but it's still interesting enough for me to not really complain about it, even though I kind of just did. You have one of the Frenchmen shooting the Predator in the helmet, and the bullet ricochets off the helmet and gets him right in the forehead, which is just so darkly funny. You also get a scene before that shot with all of the Frenchmen loading their muskets after shooting the Predator, and it just does nothing. And they're like, it takes a really long time to load a musket, so they're like all just packing in the gunpowder and all that and shoving it down with a stick. It's just a really funny sequence. I really appreciate that this movie can do just about every kind of flavor I really want to see in an action horror movie like this. You have comedy, you have badass fight scenes, you have some great characters. I can't complain. Oh, and an amazing creature. The Predator's look in this is just awesome and so primal looking. Not only does the Predator have a much more primal look to him in this film, but he also uses much more primitive tech. Like, you see all of like the stuff that would eventually become the Predator in the original film, which is cool, but his technology is much less advanced than the one that we've gotten in the past, which I really appreciate about this film. It really gives our main characters here an actual fighting chance against the Predator, because I think if they were going to go against the one that Arnold fought in the original movie, don't really think they would have a chance. So it makes me really happy that they kind of nerfed the Predator, which is such a weird thing to say. Prey also uses a bunch of actors and actresses who are of like Native American or indigenous descent, which I really appreciate about this flick. I feel like there's so many movies that would just cast a bunch of white people to play these characters, and that would kind of just suck and be really insufferable to watch. I do have a few gripes with the dialogue. Listen, I'm okay with quoting the original every now and then, which this movie does, not to the point where it's too much. It's just enough. It's just one little crazy line. They're like, if it bleeds, we can kill it, which, nice. Okay. I appreciate that. That was cool. Nice reference. Good job. But then you have Naru's character go on this rant about a beaver, which, like, yes, it's important to the plot and what's happening with her character. And we'll talk about how much I love her character progression in this movie in a second. But she goes on this like entire like monologue about like how a beaver like changes over time and learns about how to do all this. And then she has this line after she gets out of like these ropes that she's in where she's like, I'm smarter than a beaver. And it's supposed to be badass, but it's just not. It's not even like the delivery. It's just the line. I'm smarter than a beaver. I think even if Arnold Schwarzenegger was to walk out into this movie and make a cameo for some reason and to say something like that, it just wouldn't be badass, even coming from someone who is like a legend, who is a legendary badass like that. If John Wick appeared in this movie and said that, I would still be laughing. Some of the dialogue is goofy, I will admit, and you know, obviously native people speaking English doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but listen. It's fine. Listen, I'm not Robert Eggers. I'm not about to complain about this movie being in English. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. The absolute best part about this entire movie is the writing. With the character of Naru, you get to see every single time she's hunting or practicing in the woods, she gets a little better at what she's doing. And it's so wonderfully progressively better with every single fight scene or action sequence, whatever. She learns something that comes into play with the final battle between her and the Predator. It's a very tight script that I really appreciate, and Amber Midthunder's performance in this is amazing and so badass again. I cannot say that enough. Oh, she was great. I really hope to see her in some more things coming up in the future. Will they do a sequel to this movie? Probably not. I don't think it really needs a sequel personally. I'm just okay with this being a standalone. I kind of like that the franchise has been like standalone stories with just a little bit of connection between everything. But overall, I would give Prey a 9 out of 10. I genuinely think this is one of the better horror films of the year and easily the best Predator sequel. But what did you guys think about Prey? Did you watch it at 4 a.m. just like I did on Hulu? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review video of Prey from director Dan Trachtenberg. Once again, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content, reviews, and updates, all that crap. Subscribe to my second channel, Movie Smoothie, for more updates on even more movies. And also, hey, support this channel on Patreon or become a channel member by clicking that join button on my page. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.